Today, we are going to be talking about how to fire lawn care clients, getting rid of bad clients in your business. The first thing that I want to tell you here is that it is perfectly okay if you have a client who just rubs you the wrong way, gets your blood boiling. You know, it's probably worth it to just fire them. That's where I want to start here, is just telling you, giving you permission that you can fire a client who just, it's not going to be worth the ulcer, the medication, the time, the stress. You can fire that client. There's probably someone that has popped into your head when I've said that, and I give you permission to get rid of them. Okay, moving on to the actual podcast segments here. Let's talk about how can lawn care businesses set expectations with clients to avoid difficult situations. What I want you to do is think about every customer in your business is in a relationship with the business, right? The digital marketer guys have talked about this forever, where they tell you to think about like marketing as a dating relationship. So someone goes from, you meet them in a bar and you ask to take them out to coffee after a conversation in the bar. Once someone agrees to do business with you, that is them agreeing to a more serious relationship. That is marriage. But if you just wander into the bar and you're like, hey, who wants to get married? That's not a good way to start a relationship, right? So it's important to think about the relationship between your leads in the business, and that's the marketing flow, and the customers in the business. That's a more serious relationship. So the best thing you can do in any relationship is to have conversations about expectations. Because when disagreements and hurt feelings happen is when I thought this was going to go one way and you thought it was going to go another way, and then reality sets in and we both do what we thought we were supposed to do, and because our expectations were mismatched, we end up in a disagreement. So what you want to do is, as best you can, get the customer to explain to you what they want. Now, I'm not saying you need to do this with every single lead who comes in the door. This is once people have said like, hey, I want to do business with you guys. I want to hire you. I've seen the pricing, all of that. They're ready to make a buying decision. You want to hear from them what they expect this service to look like. Now, a way you can ask this question that sets you up for some of the other systems we've talked about here on the channel is ask them what outcome, what end result would get you a 5-star Google review or a Facebook review, whichever one you're trying to bulk up. What that is going to do is it's going to mean that you're priming them to leave that good review, but you're forming an agreement, right? They're giving you the bullet point list of the results they expect to see to give you that 5-star review. So in addition to paying you for the service, you're setting it up where they are also thinking, oh, if they do these things, I'm saying I'll give them a 5-star review. So that's a good bargain to set up in their own mind that gets them to explain what they're expecting from this service. And you need to make sure that you're listening very carefully, looking for any potential places that they could be, misconstruing what you're selling to them. That's going to be really helpful as you have customers down the road who you have these sorts of challenges with. It's going to give you a better idea of what to listen for, what to expect. That's just something that's going to come with experience in the industry. I want to give a shout out to Green Frog Web Design. Hey, they give you a quality website at a fair price. Ezra and the guys over at Green Frog Web Design are building amazing lawn care and landscaping websites, and you can't do better than working with those guys. They have a guarantee that if they do not get your website live in the window that they give you for it to go live, you will get your site free for a year. So not going to find many better guarantees than that in the entire industry. So reach out to Ezra at Green Frog to get your website back on track. Let's talk about some steps that you can take to resolve issues with a client before you consider firing them. So number one is that you've maybe ended up in this situation because there wasn't that expectations conversation at the outset. So if you've had a few problems with a client and you want to try to get things back on the right track, the first thing I would encourage you to do is when there's a problem in a relationship, always, 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 the most important thing that you can do is have a conversation with this person when they're in a better frame of mind. So it might not be, if they're really upset about, they've asked the guys to close the gate so many times and they're angry about it. That may not be the best time. So you want to, do your best in the immediate situation to de-escalate and make sure that everyone leaves the conversation feeling heard. That's really important, to make sure that the customer knows that you've heard the complaint, you care about it, and you're going to take steps to resolve it. But then you also want to then follow up with them at a later date. And obviously, if it's mistakes that were made on an employee's part, you want to apologize for those and let them know that the actions that are continuing to be taken to make sure that this happens. Maybe in a gate closing situation, you're now requiring the crew to text you a photo of this customer's gate closed before they leave the property. And there are going to be consequences if that doesn't happen. So you want to follow up with them when they're in a better mood so that you guys can have that expectations conversation that didn't happen from the outset. Now, this is really key for customers who are, problem children, right? Your Karens, your Bobs who are always complaining. That person we might want to consider firing, but there is an opportunity to reclaim them. A well-run business that sets out these sorts of expectation conversations with clients, you can take what would be a bad client at a poorly run business with bad communication into a good client at your business, because you know what these people want and you're delivering on it because you have the systems in place to automatically handle all of that for you. All right, red flags that indicate it's time to fire a lawn care client. This was the main focus of our main YouTube video for this week. So I would encourage you to watch that after the podcast. I kind of assume guys listening to this are in the field working. So maybe tonight when you got some time to chill, I go over these in a little more detail. But just real quickly, lack of payment, unreasonable expectations, constant complaints. They're too high of maintenance. Their standards are a little bit unwieldy, maybe a little crazy. You're always having to go out on callbacks for them. That's screwing up the route density and the efficiency of the business, adding windshield time. It's going to hurt morale. And then the last thing is disrespect to you or your team. Don't tolerate people treating you guys inappropriately. Especially when someone disrespects the team by talking down to them or cursing at them, whatever that looks like, you have to get them out the door. Nothing will damage the culture of your company more than not standing up for an employee when the customer is wrong. And many times, especially if things are getting belligerent, the customer is wrong. They can't treat service workers that way. It's hitting someone who's not allowed to hit back. It's not cool. And employees are going to respect you more, and it's going to buy you a lot of loyalty to not let customers treat employees that way. And think about how much more that employee or that group of employees is to the business than this one client when you're considering whether to fire someone who's been disrespectful. Okay, when should you try to save them? Anything other than massive disrespect is something you can try to win back from. The main thing that I would encourage you to do on unreasonable expectations or a bunch of callbacks is to try to set better expectations through that conversation. And in any relationship, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be disagreements. And as always, the important thing to do is to keep clear lines of communication, to talk to this customer that is having problems with you and figure out the best way to resolve them. So you should try to save anyone who you want to keep in the business. The two exceptions are people that are going to give you an ulcer and you can already tell, and it might just be best to cut ties with them. And anyone who disrespects your team, I think, should be out the door. Okay, we want to talk about how you do this without pissing them off or causing too much damage to the business. Number one, we want to try to keep them from leaving a review. If they leave a negative review, that is obviously going to impact the business in a big way because future customers are going to see that when they're checking for social proof. So let's say you have had a customer leave a negative review of your business. What you want to go in and do is issue a response that is conciliatory. It does not escalate. You're not trying to prove them wrong. This is not a court of law. It is a Google review, and you can only hurt your business by sniping back at them. They're already trying to hurt your business. So let's not play their game and win their prizes. Let's approach this as professionally as possible and say, we are so sorry that you had that experience. We would love to follow up with you via a phone call or an email later this week to talk to you about the situation and see what we can do to make it right. That should be your almost verbatim response to any negative review the business gets. That is making you look professional, getting it off of a public forum as quickly as possible, and giving you the opportunity to fix it and maybe get that review amended. That should be your end game on any negative review, is figuring out what you can do to get that person to, 1, delete the review, or 2, increase that score to 4 or 5 stars if you can. So we have a template on our blog of an email you can use to fire a client that keeps the language really conciliatory, almost it's not you, it's me sort of message that you can send out. And, it's important to have that email be professional, but firm and final. We don't want to upset them any more than we have to by coming in with the laundry list of reasons why we hate them. That's never going to be something that goes over easily with someone. So let's just make sure that any negative pushback we get, negative reaction we get from them, we keep the conversation professional. We don't turn into a sniping match with them. The worst thing you could have is you offline this conversation and then they post screenshots of it because you inflame them so much. So just remember, you can only hurt your business. And so anything that you do here outside of being super professional and as respectful as possible can reflect poorly on the business and cost you money down the line. I know that it can be hard when you're, accused of being a bad actor or whatever. Like, I have seen every negative lawn care review that can exist under the sun. And it's just important to keep things as respectful as you can for all of that. Okay, let's talk about how lawn care businesses ensure they're attracting the right type of clients from the beginning. Now, that is where Lightspeed comes in. That is what we help businesses do. We help you think about your ideal customer, the customer who doesn't complain and is great. And we want to think about, how do we target more people like them? The first way is that all of your copy needs to be built around as though you're selling that one person again. If you got this person in the door, we want more people like them, we need to write our sales copy as though we're selling to them, because that's what's going to work on someone like them. The other thing is that generally people live in, people like us do things like this. The interest of the business is route density and good customers. And usually people, you might have 1 or 2 bad seeds in the neighborhood who are complainers that you might have to fire down the line. But in general, people like them are going to live in their neighborhood. And so we're going to target our Facebook ads on just that neighborhood. That's something we do. We're going to run our Google ads focused on your service area. That's also something we handle for you to get the right people in the door. That geo-targeting on Facebook is really, really powerful for this. And then we're going to help you dominate your local SEO using Nearby Now. So that is going to help you automatically collect positive reviews for social proof and to improve your Google ranking on Google Maps. The other thing that Nearby Now lets us do is log local site check-ins, which improves your SEO in all the places that you work. So it's really cool and helps you continue to double down in the areas that you're already winning, which is really, really great. If you can start to dominate neighborhoods and be the only lawn care provider working in that neighborhood, that is going to, really, really serve the interests of the business. So Nearby Now helps us handle both ends of that, the automatic review collection and the logging of on-site check-ins. Those are all things that we help you do to clone your very best clients, get more people like them in the door, and create these systems within the business that all feed each other and help build a better lawn care and landscaping business for you. We only work in the green industry, and we would love to help you grow your business. It is not too late. This summer, you can grow your business at Lightspeed. Hey, I will see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure that you leave a rating and review if you are listening to this in a podcast app. If you are on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. It helps more people find out about the show if you leave us a like as well. So we would really appreciate that. Spread the word. If you have a friend in the industry that you think they're always complaining about one client and you think that maybe they should fire them, you can send this over to them and I'll give them permission at the top that they can let that client go. I will see you next week.